Hey everybody, Sophie here. Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. For this video I've brought something a little different, not art per se, but in a sense art presentation. I revamped my portfolio website recently in an effort to make it represent me and my goals as an artist better. Last time I gave it an entire overhaul, I was in a rough patch with telling stories and specifically comics. I wanted to focus more on illustrations, something that could be started, made, and then be done with within a reasonable time frame. And I did that for a while, but the siren song of telling stories has me back in its grasp, and I wanted that to be more apparent for the handful of people who might actually have a look at my website. So before we get into that, let's have a look at the before version of my website. Before I go about changing my website, I need to have a look at what I have and what then needs to be changed. So right off the bat, you see the menu up top, that much is fine, and then you see all of this illustration stuff down below. So when I first made this website, I was in a rough patch with comics. It was a very diminishing returns relationship, and I wasn't sure if I really wanted to get back into telling stories, specifically as comics, and so I put the illustrations front and center, and that is what you see here. I kind of wanted to try and go forward with more of an illustrative path. So I set the website up for that. We've got illustrations up top, and if you scroll down, you've got the sequential art. Soul's Journey, my long-running and finished webcomic, and Silent Ocean, which is a short story of 31 pages. I once made that for Mermaid, but it is kind of sequestered down here, so yeah, I'm not sure I'm a fan of that anymore, because right now I'm more story focused again. I think it was really just a dip right there for a couple of years. I'm back. So with the footer here, I'm alright with that one. I might need a different coat of paint, but generally speaking, it's okay. We can probably leave that as is. So yeah, we've got the portfolio parts of this. So this is basically also like the homepage right here. Then we go to About. Hey there, it's a representation of me. A little bit about me in the text, where you can find me, and the newsletter you can sign up for. And I also have a non-comprehensive list of some of my friends you can go visit. Figured, let's pay it forward. Everybody who comes to my site would get a chance to see my friends. All the friends who do have a web presence that is like not just on a platform, but kind of like a website. It could be a card site or something. That takes us to the comics, which are here. They have a subdomain specifically for the comics right now. The thing right now is the website is currently structured in a way that I have like my main portfolio site and the comics on the shop are both on subdomains. And if I were to add anything in the future, that could also go into the subdomain structure. I do have Soul's Journey. It's comics.sophiepf.com/Soul's Journey. You can read it on there. It's free all the way through. These are not the updated pages, so when I put them into a book, I updated them a little bit. The short stories are not necessarily on the websites. I do have them in my online shop though. So that's the comic side. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it that way though. Because what I'm thinking is maybe have more story focused and something that is more illustrative. And if I do a more story focused, then there will be more here that isn't comics. So I'm not sure how I want to describe that just yet. And that is kind of giving a bit of a headache. I will, however, keep the subdomain with comics.sophiepf.com, but I might change the category as is a little bit, so this site particularly might not be on comics.sophiepf.com anymore. And then the last part of this menu, the shop. I basically had 3 parts of a shop. My own online shop run by me, shop.sophiepf.com. I get all my stuff on there. I also have a store on Displate with metal art prints, and then I had a commission tab too. However, this one is definitely going to be retired because I will not be offering commissions going forward anymore. There was a time in my life when I wanted to do that more, but I never really had any kind of interest, so at this point I'm like, let's just retire that. I do not want to offer commissions. I want to work on my own stuff at this point. Well, that is kind of what the website is right now. Things I want to change is basically the homepage should reflect all the things I want to do. Stories, illustrations, something about me. So basically this page is probably going to be very much the same. It's just going to get a different coat of paint, but generally speaking, I think this one will just stay as is. I might do some editing because I'm not sure I like the horizontal lines anymore, specifically up here. I think it's okay down here, but the front page, the landing page, the home page, however you want to call it, should be a little bit different. Let's switch over to Clip Studio Paint and just make some mock-ups. The old version of the website wasn't bad. I didn't actively dislike it, but as I said earlier, it didn't serve as a good representation anymore and needed a new coat of paint and some renovations. I did have a rough structure in mind. I still wanted to keep the illustration gallery, even if it isn't the focus of my artist work at the moment, but it is part of it. I wanted the stories to be more front and center. There are a couple of stories that are already completed, some short, some more extensive, and reconciling how to present that took some decision making. I also wanted the homepage to be as flexible as possible, so that if I chose to add categories in the future, I could do that easily without having to rework the entire thing. In order to get a rough concept going, I just went into Clip Studio and mashed things together. The first version I had didn't really look like I wanted. I figured it was time to have more friendly colors, lighter colors, so I had a second approach afterwards. While I was working out the structure and concept of the updated website, I was also looking around at other people's websites, portfolios mostly, just to gather some inspiration. And what I noticed most is that a lot of people don't actually have a website these days. They've got a presence on platforms, in most cases multiple platforms at least, which is good. But for my webcomic days, I remember how quickly a platform can go the way of the dinosaur, and that stuck with me. Maybe somebody here remembers the webcomic host, Smack Jeeves. It was a real good one, until it was bought out, geo-restricted for Europeans, and then shut down. Stuff like that can theoretically happen to any platform at any time, which is why I feel it is so important to have a website of your own, and a newsletter for that. Not that I'm good at promoting mine a whole lot, but I have one. As for Smack Jeeves, it allowed you to host your comic via a subdomain, with some pre-made templates that you could also tweak to your liking. That was the first time that I really got into making something more personal on the web, and that was back in late 2014. NeoCities and other earlier website builders weren't really in my periphery, though I think I would have liked them at the time, or even earlier at that. I later looked into hosting my webcomic outside of Smack Jeeves as well, and the website was set up with Crawlix, a welcoming CMS, after I had wasted an entire weekend trying to make sense of WordPress. I do not want to bash WordPress, it is a very versatile CMS, but in being so, it is bulky and bloated. However, it does have a very active community ready to help. And if you just want to get going, there are a lot of templates that you can use as is and do your thing. Crawlix itself at the time had a very small team, and it isn't in the original hands anymore. That is just the nature of the thing with free CMSs. There are chances that it is not supported at some point anymore, but so far I've gotten lucky. Crawlix itself is also still available if you want to make your own webcomic site at some point. For my portfolio website, I was looking for something equally light to use as Crawlix. WordPress was a last resort in case I didn't find anything better suiting for myself. And I've seen a lot of cool things done with WordPress, but it also uses a lot of space on a web host. I eventually landed on Graph, a flat file CMS, meaning that it doesn't operate with a database. Graph took a while for me to get a handle on in terms of structure, but once I wrapped my head around it, it's amazing how it comes together like a jigsaw puzzle. That's just like scratching an itch in my brain. My portfolio has been running on Graph for 2 years at that point, and that was the thing I needed to update. And so, after putting in 4 afternoons and evenings, I finally had a new website. Let's have a look. And now that I've got all of this done, we can have a last look at what the landing page looked like before. It's kind of nostalgic, I've had this for 2 years, so let's just refresh the page now. And ta-da, it looks very different, doesn't it? Much brighter. yeah, we've got basically a landing page that just has the 4 categories that I currently have on the page. I've been thinking about adding a blog and then just reposting the entries that I have on Ko-fi, which are posted as an early access for members there, and then also publish that on a blog. However, that is in the future. Right now, I'm just glad that the entire portfolio website is up to date again and in a structure that I like and can work with. So let's get started. Stories. And I have been busy over the years. There are a couple of short stories. These lead right to my shop website, since I do offer them as a digital download there. If you subscribe to my newsletter, by the way, you get one of these for free. And then we've got my main webcomic, Zolt's Journey. It is completed now. It is still free to read online. And this website also leads you there. This page I also remade. Before that I had excerpts for the first 3 chapters. And now I've got the excerpt, some concept art, and some related art. Honestly, I didn't have a lot of art for this comic outside of the comic pages, because at the time I was very much focused on getting the story done, less on the art outside of that. And then some short stories. These are leading right to my shop. These are also related to Zolt's Journey, and I think Shadow of the Past is also on the website, if I remember correctly. Have a look there if you want to read it. Then we've got Silent Ocean, which is also a short story and is also completed. I put an excerpt in here, as well as some concept art and related art. And then we get into the more meaty stuff. Archive of Lost Worlds is a work in progress. It is a very new work in progress, so I don't have a whole lot of art for it just yet. The story isn't also that thought out yet, but I want to draw it more in the future, and I want to be able to list the art somewhere. The Red Mountains is a short story I'm currently working on. I'm working on it during streams mostly, and right now the link for it also leads to my Ko-fi website. As of right now, this is members only. The reason for that is just I don't have enough pages yet to really post it online and have it updating regularly, hence why it's currently just members only. The moment I've got enough pages for that, I will also make it freely available and then have like a weekly or bi-weekly upload schedules. You can get early access, but you will have it for free eventually. And then the Star of the Show Q's story. Technically, the working title is Rekentia, but nobody except me will be able to actually pronounce it. So I just opted for, hey, it's Kyo's story, using that as a working title, that's fine. Now I've got all the characters up here. If you go and click this, it also gets larger, so yay. A lot of illustrations and some concept art. The next part of the website would be illustrations, and that is very much straightforward. We've got personal art that I make for myself. And then down here I also have a little bit of fan art, because, you know, sometimes I like just drawing other things as well. And we've got a little about me section. This one had very few updates. I changed the image here and then just played with the colors a little bit. And yeah, again, visit my friends, they are still here. As for the shop, I made new graphics, nothing too fancy. I got my main shop, which also got a little bit of a color update. Yeah, got a bit of a color update. And then the other one is still leading to the displayed website there. Nothing changed there. So yeah, it got a little bit cleaner, more me, and more informative, I think. So yeah, let me know what you think about that. And that is it for this video. I hope the insight that I gave was informative in some way. Let me know in the comments, do you have a website? What do you focus it on? Or if you don't have a website, why is that? Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this, and I'll see you again in the next one. Kapla.